All right, here we go on this Friday. Yes, you are looking live at the Den of Thieves, the Rhode Island State House. This is where this is where activists have encouraged students to walk out of class and come to the State House. So now I'll explain, but in just about a half hour, you're going to have apparently students all over the state that are going to be allowed and told by many of their teachers to walk out of class. And this is going on really around the country, but you're also going to have high school students. And we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk with attorney Stephanie Murphy coming up. Again, I went back and forth on exactly where do we want to be for our coverage of this. And as much as I thought about being outside of a school, we always run into problems and people that have a misunderstanding of a public street and people, you need to get permission. You need to get permission to film people walking down a public street, which of course it's ridiculous, but so this is where they're going to gather though. And this is also, by the way, this is going on not only all over the country, but you also are going to have the colleges are going to take part in this as well. So I know certainly, Brown, RISD, Johnson & Wales. And so where are they going to end up? They're going to end up right there at the Rhode Island State House, of which we're close to. So it's not your imagination. It's freezing out. I mean, it's really freezing out. So I don't think that this is a good idea. Now, we're also going to talk about some of the legal stories with attorney Stephanie Murphy that we're going to touch on. Number one, you had the situation in with Patrick Pass. You had the situation in Johnston. And then you also had the Portsmouth teacher. And then maybe we'll ask her about the latest video of Alex Preddy. So we're going to start in just 4 minutes. At 1:30 is when students are being told at 1:30 to walk out of class. There is a gathering at the Rhode Island State House. Now, I don't know, I think the Providence students will walk to the State House. I think the college students will walk to the State House. But I know it's also going on, I think, in East Greenwich and in North Kingstown and some of the suburban areas. But again, this is a national, all over the country type of situation. So, or I should say, ice out. They're telling people not to shop, but the biggest thing is the national walkout. And we've posted on this. There is information out there. So it's really cold. It's not just cold. I mean, it's freezing. So, but the plan is I want to be in position. I think we'll be able to capture some of it. Not so much. The students aren't going to be walking out for a little bit. But now up on DePietro.com, we do have the video of Patrick Pass. And I just want to, the Patrick Pass people, first they were saying, for the past 2 years, they've been saying, where's the video? Where's the video? And then the video comes out. It wasn't 2 years ago. It was late August, early September of 24. So it was more like 18 months ago. All they've been saying is, where's the video? Where's the video? Where's the video? The video was released yesterday by the North Providence Police because Patrick Pass was in court yesterday. And now the Patrick Pass people say, oh, that's old. Oh, that's old news. So they go from, where's the video? Where's the video? Release the video. The video's released. It shows him pushing an 82-year-old man. Oh, that's old. So listen, it was news yesterday. There's misinformation out there. People, oh, they released that a long day. They didn't release it yesterday. We carried the press conference. I have nothing against Patrick Pass. I don't know him. I know the wife and some of the friends have been very vocal. They think he's been treated unfairly and blah blah blah. But um, it is unusual with the diversion program. I want to say this for all the people that know him. That first it was, where's the video? And now the video comes out. Oh, that's old. He didn't do anything wrong. The video shows him pushing the guy. Oh, well, that's an old story. I don't plan on talking about it going forward, but we'll just ask Stephanie about it. And we did cover the North Providence press conference yesterday. So we're going to start with our radio partners on uh, um, coming up in momentarily. We're going to be going live on the radio. You can always listen online at depetro.com. So, but right now we are live on Facebook, we are live on X, and we are live on YouTube. All right, we can begin. And it is Friday, and it is 106. And what you're seeing is the snow covered lawn of the Rhode Island State House. And coming up later today, the reason we're here is this is where apparently there are people encouraging students to walk out of class and end up here. So we thought we'd be here. This portion of the program, folks, is brought to you by the Cohesive Inn. Now, check out DePetro.com. They sponsor it. DePetro.com. We have the Patrick Pass video up. We have the video from Johnston yesterday, of which we're going to ask Stephanie about. And we have all the story about the stories and the video link about the Manton 4. So it's all on the website, DePetro.com. Folks, I want to encourage you with all the snow, still go out, support our local businesses. Support the Lodge Pub and Eatery, 40 Breakneck Hill Road in Lincoln. Remember, if you need propane, contact Propane Plus for all your heating and cooling. You can depend on Propane Plus, always online at propaneplus.com. So our plan is in just a couple moments, we're going to speak with our legal expert. It's attorney Stephanie Murphy. Remember, you can always call her. Free consultation, 401 228 8271. 401 228 8271. We're going to ask her about what happened in Johnston yesterday. He has not been officially charged. The Johnston police did put out a statement, no mug. He was taken out on a stretcher, but there was a female taken to the hospital. So that was the standoff. And then also we'll ask her about it was unusual with this diversion program and then the decision to release the video, which they did. I think the Portsmouth teacher allegedly assaulting a student. Um, that was a different type of story. All right, folks, let's get right to it because joining us right now, there she is it is attorney Stephanie Murphy. Stephanie, good afternoon. Let's start off, if you don't mind, with and walk through a little bit. The big national story is this new video that showed the man that then lost his life, and that being Daniel Preddy. We don't know all the details what happened when he lost his life, but this new video of that has surfaced, where 11 days prior, he apparently was, going up to them. He kicked, according, and his, by the way, his parents verified it as him, but he kicked out a taillight. In that moment, could he potentially have faced charges by either local police or they didn't arrest him? They did get out and take him to the ground, but just is that something that he could have been charged with?
I think you could have been charged, yes, with the vandalism, destruction of property, some sort of charge with that, along with, everything going on with the protests. There's a lot of actions going on, whether or not, but for, the events that unfolded a week later, unfortunately,
Okay.
no
We
look at. Oh, sorry. Are you there,
That's
John?
fine. I am. Go right ahead,
Yeah.
Stephanie.
Yeah. So what I was just saying is in hindsight, looking back on it, is that conduct that could rise to a crime? Absolutely. It's destruction of federal property, it's, interference and stuff like that. Absolutely. In hindsight, yes, that could definitely be a charge and it could rise to the level of, a small charge, but
Sure.
absolutely.
Could you also just touch on, Stephanie? Yes, license to carry, legal, Minnesota, and so forth. But just if you could just give advice to if you are in fact carrying a weapon, I mean, I've taken classes on this. If you get pulled over, you're supposed to immediately inform the police for their safety, your safety. Officer, I want you to know I have a weapon in the glove box. I have a weapon on the seat, whatever. Could you just touch on what you would advise a client if in fact they're carrying a weapon and he's pretty aggressive with the federal agents?
I mean, for anyone carrying a weapon, whether it's a blue card, just transporting a weapon in the trunk safely, or, a possession to carry, a concealed permit on them, whatever you do, it's good to be upfront, let law enforcement know so that there's not a problem. God forbid they find it or see it, and stuff like that without being told. So, to have a permit to carry, concealed weapon permit, a blue card, they're asking you to take responsibility for that handgun and ensure the public safety. So you have an added responsibility at that point to behave in a way, and also carry yourself in a certain way, and also, not commit crimes while carrying and stuff like that. So there's a lot that goes into these permits, and gun laws are taken very seriously. So I would always advise, it's something that you should absolutely tell law enforcement about, and just be conscientious that you are carrying and how that could escalate a situation.
Now, closer to home, we had the situation Patrick Pass, former New England Patriot. This was late August, early September of 24. So about 18 months ago. He's in a Planet Fitness. There's an older man there. They have an altercation. We had heard about this. He was charged. And two developments and questions. Number one, he was placed in this diversion or was accepted into this diversion program. And number two, a lot of people are questioning the decision by the North Providence police to release the video that they did.
Yeah, so the diversionary program, I think, is something that we talked about that gives people who are charged with crimes in Rhode Island like an opportunity to kind of set their file aside and to complete different tasks that the court and the attorney general's office require. And if you're able to complete it, then the charges get dismissed. So it's really given as like almost like a first offender program, although it's not called that. It's an opportunity for somebody who may have made a bad mistake, in this case on that day, and be able to walk away without a criminal conviction that will stay on the record for at least 10 years. So it is a diversionary program. Typically, the judge and the AGs have a say in it, along with a criminal defense attorney. But as a criminal defense attorney, in order to try to get my clients into these programs, I would offer a lot of mitigation or an explanation of what was going on and an explanation of how this was an isolated incident, that, my client apologizes for the behavior, has gotten in anger management, counseling, dealing with any substance abuse issues, whatever might be the underlying cause of why this happened, and try to let the court, allow him into the program so he's not walking around with a felony, because assaulting somebody over the age of 60 is a felony charge in Rhode Island.
And what about the decision by the North Providence police to release that video?
I'm not sure why they decide to release it at this point, but maybe they're not happy with, him getting into the diversionary program. Or, I know in the article I read and heard about that, they had a strong case. It's not very difficult when there's video cameras to prove an assault. Assault's an unwanted or a touching of somebody that places them in fear. And also the person's over 60. I mean, those points that you have to prove are pretty clear from the video, and then the age of the person. So that could be it. But I mean, the video kind of carries, shows the essential elements being met.
Now, one last part about that. Channel 10 did catch up with the man. I believe he's 83 now. He was 82 at the time. He told Channel 10 his back still hurts. You see him fall on something, and he still has to take pain medication. Is it possible now that we may see, or the man would have the right to pursue civil litigation against Mr. Pass?
I mean, I feel like in any situations where you get injured, if someone's at fault, meaning the person who struck them, meaning the gym, whatever it could be, it seems like this was an intentional act by the individual. So it really comes into play. But yes, there could absolutely be a civil action. Whether or not that happens, whether or not, this man can collect or settle is yet to be seen. But absolutely, there can be a civil case when there's an accident and there's injuries.
Do you also want to just, Stephanie, lend some advice? If this was one of your clients, you're in a gym, there's somehow an argument or confusion over who's using a piece of equipment, what would you advise an individual to do?
So if it was my client asking for advice, just, you can walk away from an escalating situation. You can, ask for help in terms of, an encounter that you're having with another customer that's not good. In terms of a civil case and stuff like that, my determinations would be based on the injuries, based on the long-term effects, lost wages, pain and suffering. So for all of it, you would have to take a lot into consideration.
Now, yesterday, we were live in Johnston, this incident where an individual, something happened, some kind of domestic dispute inside a residence. Somebody calls 911. There's a female that apparently was the subject of a sharp object. Suddenly, now the police arrive. The male individual is not cooperating. I believe initially would not let her leave the residence. So now you have a barricaded suspect. I think he said that he might have had a weapon on him. Again, if that's your client, if you get the phone call, Stephanie Murphy, and the police, now SWAT is surrounded the street and so forth. What should someone do in a situation like that?
My advice would be, the police aren't going to leave, especially with somebody, a possible victim inside. The police aren't going to leave. So my advice is, surrender yourself in a peaceful way. Let them know that maybe you just needed a moment to collect yourselves and that you're headed out and stuff like that. Have the complaining witness, whoever could be injured, get them out the door to seek medical treatment. The last thing we want to do is kind of what we've seen in other cases is not get somebody medical treatment and have the charge escalate from like a simple assault or domestic assault into, seriously bodily injury, or God forbid, someone's really, really hurt. So in that situation, you're not going to be able to just walk out of the house, without the police getting involved. So, you can call an attorney, we can reach out to the police, say, he's walking out, whatever we need to do, we can definitely help. But my advice in that situation is for the person to not make the case that the police have against them any worse by additional charges, and to cooperate with the police, and also make sure that who's ever hurt gets the care that they need so that charges don't go from bad to worse.
Now, Stephanie, in Portsmouth, a teacher was charged. This is a middle school, and for all we understand, in the Portsmouth School District, there's something where the student is standing there, and they claim the teacher twisted the student's arm behind their back. This happened several months ago, but he was in fact now allegedly they charging him with assaulting the student. My question for you is, when should a parent know if in fact it's possible that one of their children were assaulted?
I mean, I think the school has an obligation to tell the parents right away as soon as they know about it and stuff like that. The parents have a right to know what's happening in the school if their child's being touched. So whether the child reported it, whether another teacher or student reported it, I mean, the parents have a right to know right away what's going on and be involved in the process and be involved in that administrative hearing if there is one. And especially in a criminal case, if it goes that far, the parents should be involved from the get-go and all the way through.
And just finally, because we've talked about it, those four youths on Manton Avenue, the man did pass away. They have now raised the charges, the three 12-year-olds and the 11-year-old, and they are now, in fact, facing a murder charge. Any thoughts on that case?
No, I'm not surprised. We talked about it last week. I'm not
Yeah.
surprised. This is an awful case, and really serious consequences and really serious charges. And, there's somebody who passed away because of, the actions or, whatever unfolded on that day. So they are very serious charges. As we always talked about, just because the charges are very serious and carry, serious life and jail penalties doesn't necessarily mean that that's what these youths are going to get. There's a lot that goes into the investigation, there's a lot that goes into mitigation. These kids are very young. Is there an argument in terms of, the intent part of it, what they intended, what they planned, what they plotted. So a lot's yet to be known about this case, but I'm not surprised about the charges at all.
Folks, it's time for Murphy's Law. This is a story that attorney Stephanie Murphy has found. What do you have for us this week, Stephanie?
Yeah, I know we talked months ago about the Lake and Riley and that trial and everything like that. So the defendant has actually appealed to the trial judge that heard the case in terms of certain issues. So it's just interesting in terms of the appeal in that case goes to the trial judge who actually heard the case. And then after that, it could get, elevated and appealed up to an appellate court. But I'm just following that and following those issues of what the defendant is saying, should have been let in or shouldn't have been let in and stuff like that. So it's just an interesting terms of how each state deals with some appellate issues, what court it goes before, and ultimately what could happen down the road.
I also, before we let you go, I was asked this question by Lori, and I said I would ask you about it. Folks, if you want to reach attorney Stephanie Murphy, 401 228 8271. Lori's question is, I don't think it's her. I think it's either her nephew or I'm not exactly sure. It doesn't matter. But if they call you, if Lori calls you at 401 228 8271, she is wondering either A, how much information do you need over the phone, or is this more just to arrange a meeting where they're going to come in?
It depends. Some people call me and can't come into the office right away, so I'll spend the time with them on the phone and gather all the information. Sometimes it's a pressing issue. Sometimes the police are calling and they want to speak to a family member.
Oh, we had her. Well, we were wrapping up. Oh, there she is. Stephanie, I can hear you. You're back. Okay. For some reason, it's just the Wi-Fi just cut out. Nope. And all right, folks, I'm not sure why, but again, you can call her. We were right in the ninth inning, 401 228 8271. All right, we're going to leave it at that. We're going to leave it at that. Now, I want to, again, I'm going to just finish her answer. Sometimes it might be in person or sometimes have that. Oh, okay, she's back. She's There she is. All right, go right ahead, Stephanie.
Sorry,
Just finish. I
John.
was saying we're right in the ninth inning.
Yeah, what I was saying is it really depends on situation. There's some situations when people call and it's an emergency situation, so they don't have time to come to the office. So if it's that situation, absolutely able to gather information on the phone and do that. It's really a level of comfort with the client. If they want to talk in person, if they want to talk over the phone, if they want to do a video chat, whatever they do. But every case is different. Every client's different. Some clients call me up and just say, "Oh, we're ready to proceed. Enter on the case, and we'll see you at court." Other people are calling around, talking with other attorneys, and some people just need emergency advice in the moment of what to do. So it really, really depends on your level of comfort and what the case entails. But happy to always talk and then, gather more information whenever it's convenient.
And Stephanie, what if someone calls you at midnight at 401 228 8271? Is that a problem?
Not at all, not at all. And the answering service will pick up and try to reach me if it's an emergency, like someone's at the police station and they don't know whether or not to submit to the breathalyzer, stuff like that. There's police banging on the door. They want somebody to give a statement. We'll always try to get a hold of one of our attorneys. If it's not myself, we have other attorneys. So no, it's never a problem. I would call, always try to call, and we'll do our best to get right back to you or pick up the phone.
All right, folks, attorney Stephanie Murphy, 401 228 8271. Stephanie, excellent job as always, and we'll talk to you again.
Thanks, John. Have a great weekend. Bye.
All right, folks, and again, we are at the Rhode Island State House, and right now it is, let's see, okay, 123, and we are going to be standing by. Now, the reason why, and I can already see some individuals arriving in the area, either students or I'm not sure. I believe they're students, but I do see already some people that are arriving in the area around the State House with signs. So it's my understanding that this is set to kick off around 2 o'clock. So what's going to happen is right now it's 124. Now, also the big news of the day, by the way, is Don Lemon being brought into custody. And I want to clear, he hasn't been found guilty of anything. All these people screaming. He may end up, they may be able to work this out, but there's more details going to come out about it. But listen, he went along with some people into that church who were breaking the law. So Don Lemon is definitely someone of means. Don Lemon will have the opportunity to make his case, but he was taken into custody. Now, some other news, folks. Again, this is an ice out day, is what they're calling it, and they are. I don't think this is good. I have heard from some parents that their children, who are parents of Providence Public School children, teachers telling the kids they're going to give them extra credit for an upcoming test if they walk out of the classroom in 5 minutes at 1:30. I know at least one school district is telling the students, well, if you stay on school property, then you're not going to be charged with cutting class. So, but I'll just say right now that it's one thing the college students want to walk out, and there's apparently a lot of college students that are doing this. But this business of, look at the roads, look at all the snow and ice, plus it's freezing out. Um, as we've talked about, if you're a parent, you know what it's like to try to sign off for your child to go on a field trip, let alone, suddenly they're just going to leave. If you are in middle school, you can't just walk out of the school. It doesn't work that way. So, and I'll say I have a problem with these teacher. Parents have a right to be upset if teachers are telling students you're going to get extra credit. I don't care, as one son said, oh, it's only 5 points. It shouldn't be any. You're incentivizing. You're encouraging them to walk out. I want to see if something happens. There's, you don't know. Number one, it is obviously freezing. I don't think it's a good idea. I really don't think it's a good idea when the wind chill is in the single digits. There's a lot of snow and ice, or excuse me, frozen snow. Somebody could fall. Someone could get hit. It's bright sun out. And I don't understand this notion that 12 and 13-year-olds should, in fact, be able to, leave school. I don't think so. So I think it is, I do. I think it's appalling. I don't think this should be allowed in that manner. Now, again, it's the parents going to have to decide it. So I think I know one school district that's saying they're going to allow the kids to just go in front of the school, which I think is a little crazy. But I think it's dangerous. I do. Again, if you're 18, you want to go to one of these protests, that's your business. Or you want to try to impede federal officers, that's entirely up to you. But I think you draw the line when you get into high school students. If school finishes and they then want to come over to the Rhode Island State House, then that's between them and their parents. But to set this for 2 o'clock, to me, that's essentially encouraging the kids to leave school or walk out of school. And I also have a problem with the way these federal agents are being demonized. They're federal agents. It's all authorized. This existed. It's not a new agency. So many of them. I don't think the schools should be encouraging the students to do this. And let's see. Hopefully, nothing will happen. But as I mentioned, when you have this number of students and there's so much snow and ice and it's so cold out, I think you have to entertain the idea that clearly that something could happen because of the number of people that are in fact outside, and because of the snow and ice, these kids are all going to have to be walking in the street. So again, it's between them and their parents. I think I have a larger problem with the teachers, and then not all, but some teachers that seem to be encouraging it. So All right, I want to give Pete, this is just a 1 minute heads up. So now we are going to have coverage this afternoon. And obviously, the big news story of the day is a couple of things. One is the amount of documents, more Epstein files being released. And then, but the big national ice walkout, that is obviously a big story. So, Pete, 30 seconds. So, what we're going to do is now, let's see, hopefully, but when you have students all over the area, they're going to be marching to the Rhode Island State House and all the snow and ice on the streets and all the cold. I don't think it's a good idea. All right, right now, we are going to send it back to Pete in the studio. All right, we're going to sign off for now, but we're going to be back right around 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock.